Welcome back to 16 weeks of SATs with myself, Andrew. And in this week's video, we're going to be exploring subordinating conjunctions, the close relative of the coordinating conjunction. And this week, as I said, we're going to be looking at how we can spot the subordinating conjunction in SATs examples and get a better understanding of what we should be expecting when it comes to SATs. Now, as I said in the previous video around coordinating conjunctions, where there's not necessarily lots of marks available or regular marks available. With the subordinating conjunction, there seems to be many more questions and more marks available. There only seems to be maybe one or two in most papers, but there's definitely marks available. So we need to understand subordinating conjunctions, how they occur, when they occur, and the types of questions that we're going to get. So as I said, in this example or in this video, we're going to dive into those SATs questions. And again, with subordinating conjunctions, definitely get your hands on a copy of my book, SATs Like a Ninja. This is going to help you no end with your SATs. It covers everything to do with SPaG, arithmetic, reasoning, reading, and is absolute gold dust for £3 or £4. So definitely worth checking out on Amazon and on the internet. But yeah, let's get straight back into content. We're going to look at some SATs examples, a little bit of information about what subordinating conjunctions are and how we can remember them with another acronym, and then some examples from myself for you to have a go at the end. So let's get straight into the content.
So, subordinating conjunctions. And again, we're not really going to dive too much into the teaching of subordinating conjunctions. We're just going to look at how we can tackle these SATs questions and how we can best remember them. Now, I know a lot of you will already remember or be familiar with this acronym. Now, with coordinating conjunctions, we had fanboys, but a really common way to remember subordinating conjunctions is a white bus. And again, it just helps us start to think about these different subordinating conjunctions, which will help us begin a subordinate clause. And we're not really going to get into that. There will be other videos on subordinate clauses, which will link back into subordinating conjunctions. But for this video, we're just looking at questions that want us to identify the subordinating conjunction. And really all we're trying to do is remember some of these common ones. Although, when, how, if, that, even though, before, unless, and since. And some of them are very, very common. We've got because in there as well, but we've got since and although, when, is a really, really common subordinating conjunctions. Very straightforward, and we just need to remember them well enough that we can spot them in sentences and go, yep, straightforward, that's a subordinating conjunction. I'll take the easy mark, thank you. So with subordinating conjunctions, there are more marks available generally. Okay, so let's get whizzing through some of these examples. So complete the sentence with an appropriate subordinating conjunction. So in these sentence types, what they're wanting you to do is to choose one of the subordinating conjunctions from your memory and apply it in here. And what this question is basically saying is there may be more than one that works if it's appropriate. So Tracy decided to walk something. It was a lovely day. Now, the natural one that should just fit in there, that's really, really logical, Tracy decided to walk because it was a lovely day. Okay? Makes total sense. We would write that very, very straightforward, because it was a lovely day. Very, very straightforward. Tick. And again, when it talks about appropriateness, you may remember that there are ones like before or although and since. Okay, would although work? No. Tracy decided to walk although it was a lovely day. Doesn't quite work. It would work if it was maybe raining. Tracy decided to walk since it was a lovely day. I think that would work. So since probably would have got us the mark. Tracy decided to walk if it was a lovely day. Doesn't quite make sense. So we've just got to be aware of this appropriate subordinating conjunction. So Tracy decided to walk because it was a lovely day. I think we also probably could have got since it was a lovely day. So with this question example, there is a coordinating conjunction, but the first two, we are looking at subordinating conjunctions. So we'll take this example because it's really, really useful. So circle the conjunction in each sentence. We like to, and again, with these, it's really just about spotting it in the sentence with that familiarity of hopefully seeing when, although, and so. Very, very simple. We don't even need to really read the questions. If we've got a good knowledge of conjunctions, these circle questions are really just about spotting it and going, yep, yep, and yep. And that's what we're going to do. We would circle this. So we've got when, we've got although, and we've got so. And again, subordinating conjunction, coordinating conjunction. And again, we don't need to overthink these sentences. We're going to read through them, of course, but very, very safe questions. And again, look, we need to get all three of these to be able to get the 1 mark. Okay, so it's really important we have a good knowledge of subordinating and coordinating conjunctions. So with this question, again, it comes back to understanding, like I said in previous videos, about coordinating conjunctions and how they perform different roles. This is exactly the same with subordinating conjunctions. So insert a subordinating conjunction to show that we ate lunch and listened to music at the same time. So we can't just bang any old subordinating conjunction in. It has to be the one that shows us doing something at the same time. So we listen to the music. We can't just put because we ate our lunch or although we ate our lunch. So the conjunction is going to show that is while. Okay, and again, we should be quite familiar with that. We listen to the music while we ate our lunch. So again, very straightforward. And we must make sure that when we write this, we're making sure, again, a little bit messy, that we're not capitalizing any letters and it's all written as lowercase as the rest of the sentence, just so that it's presented accurately. And that would get us the mark. Very, very simple. Appropriate subordinating conjunction would get us that 1 mark, and we can move on. So again, with this question, let's take a little bit of a look. Again, quite late on in the paper. So complete the sentence below with, again, this appropriate subordinating conjunction. What this is telling us is that we can't just put any old subordinating conjunction in. And because it's the start of a sentence, we must ensure that this word is capitalized, okay, because it is the start of a sentence. So you could put the correct conjunction in here, but if it's not got a capital letter at the start, you won't get the mark, okay? So again, what is the appropriate subordinate conjunction? Something blank, football is his favorite sport. James also enjoys watching tennis. So the answer here again, it couldn't be although. Okay, an appropriate one would be although. Okay, so although, just write this down. Although football is his favorite sport, James also enjoys watching tennis on TV. And what although does is it introduces 2 contrasting ideas. So we've got this idea that James likes football, or it's his favorite sport, but he also enjoys watching tennis on TV. So we've got these 2 contrasting ideas presented by although. So although football is his favorite sport, James also enjoys tennis on TV. You can argue maybe that while football is his favourite sport, James also enjoys it. It's maybe that while is on the mark scheme and is allowed, but although is the definite one that's going to get you the mark, and we've written it with a capital letter because it's the start of a sentence to ensure that we get this mark. And again, notice this, question 34, quite late on in the paper. Circle the subordinating conjunction in the sentence below. And again, with this example, it's really just a case of familiarity. You should just be able to spot straight away that since is a subordinating conjunction. So we don't really need to think too much about the sentence and the words that are in it. We should just spot since. We have a subordinate clause, but since just basically is a subordinating conjunction. So we will circle that nice and clearly. That gets us the mark, and we can move on. So once again, notice question 37, quite late on in the paper. Complete the sentence below with an appropriate subordinating conjunction. So this, again, this idea of an appropriate subordinating conjunction is sort of suggesting to us that there's probably more than one subordinating conjunction that you can use. So a blank, it rained all afternoon. The picnic was a success. Okay. So we've got probably this idea of contrasting information again. So I definitely think we've probably got two options here. We've got although would definitely work. And I also think we've got even though. I think both of these would work and get us the mark as, let's just cross the T, as appropriate subordinating conjunctions. And we'll go with even though, just because we've used previously although. But again, the key part here is making sure that we capitalize. So we've got even though. And it's really important to remember that in the SATs, it's really, really important that the marker can read what you are writing. If it's messy or illegible, you're potentially not going to get the mark. And in this instance, if we aren't capitalized at the beginning of the sentence, because it is the beginning of a sentence, you wouldn't get the mark either. So even though it rained all afternoon, the picnic was a success. Although, probably going to go in there as well, although it rained all afternoon, the picnic was a success. And once again, just to finish with, definitely worth pausing the screen and having a go at spotting some of these subordinating conjunctions for yourself.
So well done for getting stuck into subordinate conjunctions. Hopefully, as you've seen, there's lots of different examples of subordinating conjunction questions and still relatively easy marks. If we can just remember the different examples of subordinating conjunctions, like if, when, although, etc., they will commonly crop up and they're generally a pretty easy mark to either add in, circle, easy marks. And the only real issue that we've got to look out for is when we have that fronted adverbial setup of the subordinate clause coming first and the subordinating conjunction essentially starting the sentence. So we've just got to look out for those examples where the subordinate clause or the dependent clause, however you call it, is at the beginning of the sentence and that subordinating conjunction starts the sentence essentially. So we just need to be aware of that sneaky one where that mark could be presented. And as we've just seen, there's quite a few examples of those in the previous questions. So as we've said, keep working hard with your SATs. If you're unsure on conjunctions, go back through the video and check out the other video on coordinating conjunctions, which gives us a much rounded picture of the types of coordinating conjunction and subordinating conjunction questions. Pretty straightforward. I'm pretty confident that you guys will get those marks relatively easy. And as I've said, keep working hard and I'll see you all in the next video of 16 weeks of SATs.